Hello and welcome to Dividing a Decimal by a Whole Number, done Mrs. K's way. Today we are going to be exploring how to be able to divide a whole number and a decimal. We will be doing this by looking at one example, 0.6 divided by 3 or 6/10 divided by 3 wholes, and we will be looking at it three different ways. The first way is using a diagram, second is using fraction equivalents of our decimals and whole numbers. And then lastly, we're going to be using long division in order to solve this division problem. Let's look at our example of 6/10 divided by 3 wholes using a diagram. So what this question is asking is, if I have 6/10, how many times can I separate it into 3 separate wholes? So let's look at it. So first I need to see what I have in one whole. Since it's 6/10, I can chop up this one whole into 10 slices. And now I have 10 separate pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I will be coloring in only 6 of those 10s. Obviously, you can hear that my puppy Callie is snuggling and sleeping right next to me, so I hope I am not putting you to sleep, as I am obviously putting her to sleep. So right now I have colored in 6 of my 10ths. However, now the question is asking me to divide those 6/10 into groups of 3 wholes. First, what I need to do is to create my other 2 wholes to give me 3 wholes total. So voila, I now have my 3 wholes, but I cannot take these 6/10 to create a group of 3 wholes. That is not possible, but I can see how much of these 3 wholes my 6/10 fills up. So I need to know how much this is showing me. How much is my colored showing me? So I know that I have 6. But I'm no longer 6/10. I have 6 out of a total of 10, 20, 30. So I put 30 in my denominator. And now in order to try to get my 6/30ths back into a decimal, I would like to get it so that my denominator is in tenths. I noticed that luckily both 6 and 30 are both divisible by 3, and by doing so I get my answer in 2/10. Luckily now I know that 2/10 I can also rewrite that in a decimal as 0.2. So my final answer is that 6/10 divided by 3 wholes gives me a total of 2/10. Now, using the same example of 6/10 divided by 3 wholes, I can also use it, even though I was doing it a little bit before, I can solve it using their fraction equivalents. So I know that 0.6 is the same as 6/10. And I can also divide that by my 3 wholes, which I can write as 3/1. In our past chapter, we realized that instead of dividing by fractions, we can also multiply by the reciprocal. So either I could have just divided straight across, but right now I'm actually going to be showing you dividing by the reciprocal and how that looks. We'll start multiplying now by the reciprocal, which is 1/3. And I multiply straight across, so 6 times 1 gives me 6. And 10 times 3 gives me 30. And I can reduce that again to try to get a fraction equivalent of something tenths. So I know that both 6 and 30 are divisible by 3. That gives me my 2/10. And I can write that as 2/10 as a decimal. Again, I come to my final answer of 2/10, even though I'm doing it in a separate way. Lastly, let's look at 6/10 divided by 3 wholes using long division. First thing I want to do is put my numbers using the long division symbol. If I'm trying to find out which number goes where, my number that is being divided is 0.6. That goes in my inside. And the number that is being divided by, which is the 3, goes on the outside. The first thing that I want to do is, since I see that I have a whole on the outside and a decimal on the inside, I can now take my decimal point and carry it up to the top for because I know my answer is going to have a decimal inside. So the first thing I want to see is how many times does 3 go into 0. That can't happen, so I know that that is 0 times. Now I'm trying to see how many times 3 goes into 6/10. And I know that 3 goes into 6 2 times. And we'll make that on the right side of the decimal. And I know that 2 times 3 gives me 6. I subtract those and I see that I have 0 left. So my final answer is that 0.6 or 6/10 divided by 3 wholes is equal to 2/10. Well, thanks so much for stopping by and spending some time with me as I was explaining how to divide a decimal by a whole number. I wanted to leave you with a quick joke right here. What do you call a fish with no eyes? A fish. Thanks so much, you guys. See you later.